I still see that they're like in the waiting room, or not? Okay, I think we're live. Good evening, guys. I hope we're live. I mean, at least I see myself on the screen. I hope you can see me. So, good evening. My name is Erik. I think it's the 11th of June tonight. Um, we just had an announcement there about true confidence. That's not the title of tonight. We're actually going to talk about self-love. So let's see, who do we have? I saw some names popping by. I think Kyle was there, right, Kyle? Like you're always coming. Hang on, it's popping on my screen. Let me see what I can do. Hey, Spela, it's nice to see you. Lovely to have you again. I see a new name, Carmen. Welcome. Rebecca, welcome. It's great to have you. Omar, I'm not really sure. Maybe you were here last week. Is that right? Otherwise, good to see you again and welcome. Lucy, welcome. Like I just said, Kyle, great to see you again. Man, you've been here for many, many weeks already. It's fantastic. Then Dixie, new name to me. Fantastic to have you. Okay, guys, so I think we have a nice team, a nice group tonight. As you could probably tell, I'm not really Irish, nor English, nor American, whatever. You could probably tell by my accent. That is not where I'm coming from. I'm actually from the Netherlands. I'm Dutch. So I hope you bear with me tonight. My English is not always great or perfect. I might sometimes do a little bit of thinkingness to see like, okay, what am I trying to say here? But the whole idea of tonight is to impart some data about the mind, about self-love, what is actually holding you back in life. What is it that makes you doubt yourself, that makes you lose your own confidence, that you don't really like yourself? We're actually gonna do a deep dive into that, and so yeah, like I said, I really like to impart and share knowledge with you. So once again, welcome. As you can imagine, it's kind of always a bit of a funny thing. Actually, I do have the feeling that I'm talking to you, but in reality, all that I see is a camera in front of me. So maybe you would like to share with me where you're from and why in particular you are here tonight following this webinar. Would love to know that. There's a chat open. You can just punch it into the chat. And maybe it's nice to share with each other, where are we from, and why is it that you're joining the webinar tonight? I'm curious to find out. So about me, like I just said, I'm Dutch. I came from Holland about 2 years ago. I've been out of my country for more than 20 years. Lived about 10 years in the Caribbean, also in Latin America, Scandinavia, various European countries. Right now, since 2 years in Ireland. Like it very much. It's very green compared to Holland. There's a lot of space. In Holland, we have 18 million people, pretty much half of the footprint of Ireland. So you can imagine it's a busy place, you know. One of the things that I do, which is kind of like a passion of mine, I like to do seminars, I like to do webinars, I do one-on-one coaching and consultations. You're welcome to come over for a free personality test. We can also discuss it online. Whatever there is that you feel that, you know, I want to have some help in a certain area of my life, I'm always super happy to give some advices, recommend books and these kind of things. All right, let's see. So yeah, Omar, so you were there last week, right? I remember that. That was great. And we even met this morning in person. There you go. Okay, fantastic. So now I have the picture. That's great. All right, Rebecca from Birmingham, UK. I'm here to make a confident life choices and feel better about myself in the process. Okay, Rebecca, that's amazing. Fantastic. Okay, that's a good reason, I guess, to be here. All right, so now whatever we're running into in life, yeah, if it is confidence, if it is self-love, if it is you know, your specific reasons behind not feeling good, being down, being cheerful, whatever it is, making tough choices, having hard times in life, just whatever it is, it always always comes back to the mind. So I'm going to use some data tonight from an international bestseller. It's called The Original Thesis, Dianetics. Dianetics means through the mind, or what the mind is doing to you and your body. So just to get started, I want to give you an idea what the mind actually is. Now, it's quite an intriguing question. You could go to a mechanic, to a garage, so to speak, and you could ask that mechanic, how does an engine work? And you probably get a very good explanation. You can go to a mental health, quote unquote, specialist, and you could ask, how does the mind work? Now, do you actually get a good, sound explanation of that? That's what we're trying to give you tonight. Let me see, Dixie is here. Dixie from Sylmar, California, 25 about miles north of Los Angeles. Okay, been to LA one time. I loved, absolutely loved it. I'm here to hear about self-love, very needed now. I've just become a caregiver for an aging parent. Also work 40 hours, and I want to have some quality time with me. I'm a grand crafter, so it's positive. Looking forward to this. All right, Dixie, good. Thank you. Great to have you. So let's go into the first exercise. The first exercise is, I would like you to remember primary school. And when I say primary school, try to see if you can actually get a picture in your mind of the school. So maybe you can actually get the building, maybe you can actually get the playground, the courtyard. If I bring up the courtyard, maybe you can actually see the entrance or the exit. Maybe you can see the fencing around the playground. And when you see the building, maybe you can see the color of the building. Maybe you can see where the windows are. Maybe you get a glimpse of the corridor and some classrooms. Now, so quick question, just as a feedback. Who of you actually did get a picture of primary school? Just pop it in the chat very, very quickly. Just put a yes or no. Who actually got a picture of primary school? Okay, Lucy, thank you very much. Rebecca, thank you. Kyle, great. Anybody else? Now, in between, your mind can be in a certain condition. Yeah. Some people don't get pictures, right? But you still have a sense of, for example, if you would be at the courtyard or the playground, you would still have that sense of, well, the exit would be over there, and the building would be over here. So maybe your picture is black, but you still have the information coming to you where objects or where buildings, places where they are located, right? Some of us actually get very, very clear pictures, and we can actually see colors. Last week we had people who actually got smells. So they actually had a memory, and they even picked up the smells that happened concurrently with the moment. So the first thing that we can actually see here is that your mind makes pictures. And we're simply calling that a mental image picture. Let's call it mental images. So we have a body here, we have a mind, and your mind makes mental images. Okay, let's go to the next exercise. And what I would like you to do is imagine that you are in your favorite chair in the living room in the house where you grew up. See if you can do that. See if you can imagine again to be in that chair, in your favorite chair, in the living room in the house where you grew up. Now, here's a fun thing to do. What I would like you to do is from where you're sitting, just point out where would the TV be. Just go ahead and just point it out. And just establish for yourself how far away in feet or in yards or in meters, how far away would that TV be from you? Now, if you have it, let's find a table in the room. And just point it out from where you're sitting, where's the table? Good. Now let's find let's find a window. From where you're sitting, point over to the window. And if you have that, let's do a final one. Where would the kitchen be? Well, in my case, where I grew up, I had a kitchen in the back of me. Now, so this is my next question to you. Could you actually pinpoint the objects in the room? Were you able to do that? Were you able to point about you and say, well, the TV was over there, the table was over there, there's a window over there, there's a kitchen behind me. Were you able to point out where these objects, these items are about you? Okay, Lucy, that's good. Kyle, yes. Spela, I'm just reading your comment quickly. All right, Omar, yes, okay, fantastic. So what do we learn from this? What we learn from this is that these images are actually three-dimensional. So it's quite interesting, yeah? So these images, they're not in your head, because you didn't say, well, the TV is over here, and the table is over there, and the window is like here next to my temple, and the kitchen is in the back of my head. You didn't do that. Instead, you pointed about you, all right? So we call them mental images for a very good reason. They're not tangible. You can touch on that stuff. That's why they're mental. All right, so they're three-dimensional. So how do you actually, let's say we do a proper sketch of the mind, we get something like this. So here we get an endless, kind of like a footage, just like a film, like a Hollywood film. Hollywood, like with a Hollywood film, you would see like a tape, like a footage, which is like two-dimensional. Your pictures are literally like three-dimensional. So you get a sketch kind of this. Well, how do you use your mind? That's an interesting thing too. How do you use it? How does it work for you? Now let's say you're coming home, and so yeah, you have your keys. You drop your keys somewhere. Now you go about in the house. You go to your study, and maybe you go to the living room, and then at some point you may go to the garage. So you're all over the place, and all of a sudden you look at your watch and say, oh, hang on, actually you have to do some shopping. So the next thing is you put your hands in your pocket to look for your keys, and you realize they're not there. So what will you do? Are you actually going to go to all these places? And are you going to look in every corner of the house to find your keys? Well, you wouldn't. What you would do is you would consult your memories. You would consult your pictures. So you just think for a moment and say, okay, let's see, I got home. And you get the pictures. Hang on, I passed by the cupboard and I dropped them over there. So now your mind will tell you where you can find your keys. That's how you actually use your mind. Does that make some sense? Does that explain things a little bit for you guys? Good. All right. Now, here's a question. So we just, yes, very much. Okay, fantastic, Spela. Okay, Dixie, love it. Great. All right. So here's a question. We have a lot of questions, a lot of interactions, but it makes things a bit more interesting because you actually get to see how it works for you in your life. So here's a question. So we just looked at primary school, and we just looked at the living room, maybe some objects, right? Now, looking at these pictures, cause any kind of discomfort or stress? Just pop it in the chat. You looked at some pictures. Did that cause any discomfort or any stress? All right, Kyle, that's a bit, what can I make out of this? Is that a yes or a no? Dixie, no? Good. Omar, yes. Spilla, weirdness. Okay, Rebecca, a little. Good. Kyle, no. All right. So that tells you something. Yeah. That tells you that there is something in the mind that could be pleasant or unpleasant. So let's go a little bit deeper into this. And so right away, I'm going to pop another question for you to make this a bit more real. Yeah, I'm going to take a very, very simple example. Have you ever gone to a job interview? Or did you ever do a presentation in front of a group of people? And either the job interview or presentation or perhaps an exam, did that make you feel nervous or uncomfortable or stressed perhaps? Have you ever been in that situation, like doing a speech, doing a job interview, doing an exam, and you felt nervous or uncomfortable or stressed? Has that ever happened to you? Rebecca, 100% every time. Okay. Kyle, yes. Thank you very much. Lucy, yes. Okay, Clau. Oh, there's a new name. Welcome. Welcome, Clau. Good to have you. Little nervous. Dixie, okay. Anxious a bit. Thank you. All right. Now, I could ask you the next question, which would be like, well, did you actually want to feel like that? Probably not. So I guess you don't have to really answer that question, because I get that you probably didn't want to feel stressed, right? So in other words, there is something there that controls you. So Omar, yes, especially when I'm reading on paper. Okay, so Omar, I'm going to give you an example how that works, right? So during these moments, there's apparently something there, some kind of a force that seems to control you. Let's take a different color. There's some kind of a force that controls you. And so let's have a look where it actually comes from and what it does. So the first thing that it controls your body. So how does it go? Let's say you have to do a speech, and let's say you prepared that speech very well. All right? Maybe you had that feeling you had it down cold. You could talk for half an hour. You had the whole story down cold. You could comfortably talk about it. You had memorized the whole thing. It was all there. So now there's the moment suprême, and you actually have to go on the stage and you have to talk. You simply have to be there in front of a group of people and do your dissertation. So what happens at that moment, for example? All of a sudden, something kicks in. Something kicks in there and takes over the control. You notice all of a sudden your legs, they become a bit shaky. It just feels like you don't have the strength in your legs the way it's supposed to be. All of a sudden you feel these butterflies in your tummy. And it might make you feel a bit nausea or something. You might pick up a smell that, oh, wow, that's not good. So your glands seem to be under duress. Like you said, Omar, maybe you bring the paper, and you got your paper here in front of you. Well, you can't keep it still. Your body is shaking so much, your arms are shaking so much, you can't keep the paper still. Right? So something is there that completely takes over your body. Now, it also controls your mind. So let's say like I just said, you studied the whole speech. Maybe you practiced on it for days or for weeks or whatever. You practiced on it, and just like with perhaps like with an exam, or like with a job interview, you get questions, and all of a sudden you don't know what to answer. You're sitting there in a job interview, and you might go a bit numb or a bit shy, and you get questions, and all of a sudden you go into a blank. Just like doing that speech, all of a sudden, hey, you don't really remember what you actually wanted to say. It seems as if a part of the mind has just been shut off. It's like you can't seem to access your memories. Something else takes over, and your memories are kind of like wiped out. So it takes over your mind. Well, now it takes over your emotions. Let's say just before the exam or the job interview or the speech, let's say some hours before, maybe you were cheerful. Or you were in good moods. All of a sudden something kicks in, and now you are in fear. So it definitely controls your emotions. I'm giving an example, right? It doesn't have to be true for you, but I can imagine that you may have seen this. All right, so what else does it control? It also controls your purposes. So there's something that you really want to do, and it seems that there's something in your mind. It seems to tell you that action or doing something is potentially dangerous. So it's trying to warn you with some kind of force that you better not do it. So maybe you want to talk to your boss about another job, about another income, and maybe you're discussing this with your partner and say, yeah, you know, that's a fantastic idea. I should go for it. And then the next day, when the moment is there, all of a sudden, you change your purpose because your mind was just scaring the heck out of you, and you just decided that probably it wouldn't be a safe thing to do. So now you're actually deciding on doing something else. All right. Now, as a question again for you. Have you seen this happening in your life? Have you seen this happening in your life where all of a sudden something kicked in and took over the control of your body, your mind, your emotions, your purposes? You wanted to do something, you wanted to achieve something, maybe you had a certain goal in mind, there was something there that you really, really wanted to do, you were eager to do it, you were eager to have these results, something perhaps that would make you very, very happy, but then something just ruined it. Something came in and ruined it, made you feel very uncertain, made you feel stressed, and then you decided not to do it. Have you ever seen that in your life? Kyle, thank you. Clau, thank you. Lucy, okay. Omar, all right. Now, so what was discovered, and you can read all about it in this book. First of all, what I'm telling you right now here, you can actually find in the book. Actually, way more than what I'm telling you. I'm just giving you the snippets. But there's another part of your mind that takes over, and it was never discovered before. It's a brand new discovery. It's a brand new discovery that there's a certain portion of your mind that kind of like plays the boss over you. And it takes away the control. It wipes out your memory. It reduces the strength in you, and it just takes over the control. And it was discovered what it is, how it actually ruins your plans again and again and again, and how to fix it. So let me give you a few examples. I'm just going to wipe this out, guys. We can make it very, very simple. There's a part of your mind that stores all your bad experiences. So your bad experiences, they contain pain, yeah? For example, let's say you're a child, you're cheerful, you're running, you trip over a stone, you fall, you hurt your knee, you're bleeding, it's pain. You lose a toy, or you lose a pet animal, or perhaps something that you were very, very attached to. And that animal or that possession, that person is no longer close to you. So that's also pain, that's emotional pain. So we have here the source of the bad control. Let's just call it what it contains is the sum of your bad experiences. Now, who's ever had a door shut on your fingers? You don't have to reply in the chat, but I'm going to give you a practical example. Who's ever had a door shut on his fingers? Hurt like hell, right? It's really painful. So now, if you have that memory somewhere there, now let's imagine that inadvertently you're at the door opening, and the door is open, and inadvertently you're moving your fingers or your hand to the doorpost, and all of a sudden you find out about it. Now, what is your mind going to do? What is your mind going to tell you? How would you react? Would you actually look it over and see if somebody could actually close the door on purpose, or if a gust of wind would blow the door and close it, or would you just pull out? What do you think your mind will tell you to do? This one you can actually answer in the chat. What do you think your mind is going to do? Is your mind going to make you take a look, or is your mind going to make you react? All right, this is going to run. All right, I like your answer. Thank you, Dixie. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, yeah? Okay, Omar, pull out. Thank you. Good. So you would probably agree that your mind is telling you to react, not to think, not to carefully look it over, but simply, just like you said, Pula, Dixie, and Omar, just get the heck away from there. Good. So there's a kind of like a response to whatever is there. Now, let me see about the time. Okay, good. We can do a few more examples. Have you ever eaten tainted food? You ate something and it was spoiled and it made you sick. Has it ever occurred to you that you ate tainted food and then later on that same food was presented to you again? Did you kind of like feel like inclined not to have it again? That's my next question. Yeah, did you kind of like feel like, I shouldn't have this again? All right. Yuck and yes. All right, Lucy, yes. Yeah, so good. Thanks very much. I'm going to go to the last example. Let's say you lost somebody very, very dear to you. Or like I said, like maybe like a very favorite toy when you were young, or a favorite possession, or maybe a pet animal, or just somebody that was just very, very dear to you, like a person. What happens if you think back of the moment of loss? What generally happens when you think back of the moment of loss? Do you feel becoming emotional, or emotional to some extent, or maybe angry or upset? Does your emotion change, in other words? And all of a sudden you're being remembered about a loss. Does your emotion all of a sudden change? Kyle, thank you very much. Yes, you feel grief. All right. Lucy, was that you saying yes? Cloud, yes. Keep remember, hard time to let go. Lucy, okay. No, not so much on loss. All right, now, thank you guys. All I wanted to say is that, when, in general, when we think back of a loss, our emotions might just drop. And we can just go from cheerfulness into sadness. When you ever burned your hand, for example, on a stove, the next time you're going to be really careful to put your hand there, even if the stove is off. If you ever ate tainted food, you will now probably stay away from it. So what it tells you is some kind of perhaps irrationality. If the stove was on in the past and it burned you, there's no guarantee right now that if you put your hand anywhere near, that the stove automatically is on again and will burn you again. It might be very, very cold even. It might just be off. There's no guarantee at all that it will burn you. But your mind acts as if that is going to happen again. If you ever ate tainted food and now it's being presented to you again, then your mind will kind of like act and warn you to kind of like tell you, stay away from that. So, and whenever you, let's say you suffered from a real loss, all of a sudden that loss, wham, in your face, and you get all that emotion again. In other words, there's really something there. It completely takes over the control, and you're no longer your own boss over your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own body. There's something there that basically messes up the moment of the day, so to speak. So, whatever I'm trying to tell you is maybe you want to do something really constructive. Let's say there's a job that you really want to have, and you feel like, you're totally cut out to have that job because that is just for you. It's the right hours, it's the right location, it's doing the things that you love to do. It's a perfect salary. So you're like all fired up and you want to have it. And then you're there, and something there controls you and ruins the whole thing. All of a sudden, You don't know what to say anymore. You feel kind of shy. You're no longer yourself. And so it seems that whenever you want to do something really constructive, it seems that something comes in to ruin it. So that's one concept. You want to do something good, and something messes up your plans. Now, we can also go in the other direction. Maybe you did some stuff that you really regretted. You did something bad. You did something you really didn't intend to do. And you felt kind of like impulsed to do it. So let's say you knew that doing drugs was bad. Let's say you just knew that. You knew you would never do it. But then you experienced some peer pressure, and you just couldn't say no. You just couldn't say no, and you felt you had to go with the flow. The next day you're sick as a dog, and you ask yourself, why did I do that? Or maybe this was with alcohol. And the next day you had a terrible hangover. And you ask yourself, why didn't I stop? Why didn't I stand up for myself? Why did I succumb? Or maybe, you went out and maybe you were in a relationship. Maybe you were not. And you had that feeling, oh my God, I could just date this person and go home with this person. And we could sleep together. And the next day come to the conclusion that you thought, oh my God, what have I done? How could I do this to myself? How could I do this to the person I love? Or maybe something like, let's say you make a promise and you want to stick to your promise. And then all of a sudden you compromise your own integrity, and you don't stick to your promise, and now you're feeling bad towards your friends because you couldn't stick to your promise. Okay, so this is planet Earth, right? It's quite a madhouse. You can see this in everybody. So that mind, that part of your mind that has stored the bad experiences, now controls you in a way that isn't really survival for you. Whenever you try to do something really constructive, it tries to prevent you from doing it. And whenever you try to do something that is really counter survival, it seems to encourage you to do it. It's kind of weird. Now, so I'm going to ask you just a very, very tricky question, yeah? So first of all, like I said, this is planet Earth. It's a bit of a madhouse. You see, we don't really have very, very honest governments, for example. There's a lot of inflation, a lot of debts. We have, war seems to be quite popular. There's drugs on the planet. There's human trafficking. In other words, there's a lot of that stuff around in people. So I have a very, very light question for you. Have you ever been dishonest? That's the only question that I have for you tonight on that subject. Have you ever been dishonest? So please let me know in the chat. Have you ever been dishonest? Okay, Kyle, yes, of course. Dixie, yes. Clau, no. Okay, that's very good. Omar, no. Oh, we have some angels here. That's fantastic. All right. How about Sandy, Rebecca, Dixie? How about you guys? Have you ever been dishonest? Now, it might have been a little bit dishonest. Like telling a white lie, for example. Or lying about something small. Yeah? Okay, so here's my next question. Just let's see how this works. So let's say in the case that you have been dishonest, you did tell a white lie, or you did tell a lie even. Yeah. But in the bottom of your heart, did you want to be dishonest? That's my next question. The bottom of your heart, did you actually want to be dishonest? Dixie, no. Kyle, no. All right. Okay, Sandy, I got your message to be honest, yes. Rebecca, no. Good. So I just want to indicate to you that maybe at some point you were dishonest, but at the bottom of your heart, you did not want to be dishonest. So something kicked in there that took over the control, and maybe you had a thought like, well, I can't say no, or I can't say yes. But something was really controlling you to be dishonest at that point, where you even didn't want to be like that. So all these funny things that I'm just mentioning isn't really you. It isn't really you. When you are going to a job interview and you can't be yourself because something else takes over, you can't be yourself. You know, that isn't you. It's something else. It takes over, and it prevents you from being you. You do the speech in front of a group of people, and you can't be yourself. Something prevents you from being yourself. So then you got these two different flows, right? Like you want to do something, and then the fear kicks in. All kinds of considerations kick in, like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And that isn't really you. What does it tell you? You cannot use your full potential at these moments. Does that make any sense? At these moments, does it make sense that there's something that prevents you to use your full potential? Does that make sense? That would just be a yes or no question. Okay, Omar, thank you very much. I think deep in their heart, nobody wants to be dishonest. Yeah, exactly. Good. Maybe everybody's typing, maybe not. But let me see. I got a few more questions for you guys, just to make it a bit real. Now, here's the question. It's another yes or no question. Have you ever experienced doing something and regretting it later on because you really shouldn't have done it? Did you ever do something, you ever experienced doing something, you regretted it later on because you shouldn't have done it? Yes? Yes? Okay, good. Thank you, guys. All right, so there's this thing. You feel this impulse to do something, but it didn't really help you in your life. It didn't really help you to survive. Let's go towards the other direction again. Have you ever experienced that you really wanted to do something that was really positive, but then you felt full of self-doubt and fears? So have you ever felt you really wanted to do something, you said, well, this is really going to better my life, enhance my life, I really want to go for that, and then something held you back that caused you to be full of self-doubt and fears? Have you ever run into that? Okay. Kyle, good. Oh, that's fantastic. Not anymore. Dixie, yes. Good. Now, so now what do we have? Let's say you want to do something good. Every time you want to do something good, achieve something that is really going to better your life, improve your life, and it seems there's always this impossible barrier that causes self-doubt, stress, what have you, and it just stops you from doing the thing you really want to do or achieving the thing you really want to do. I'll give you an example, which is a very, very personal example I'll share with you. So I studied electronics and economics in the past. I graduated. I started to work. Now, back then, even at the age of 14, I started to develop a kind of like a phobia for phones. I could not make phone calls. It was very, very impossible to do. And whenever I would have to make a phone call, I would definitely get that butterfly feeling all over me. And I would just start to sweat and be nervous and be very, very, very afraid. So when I was 14 years old, my mom asked me to make an appointment with a hairdresser. You can imagine, maybe back then I still had hair. It's pretty much gone now. But imagine, okay, I was 14 years old, so she said, hey, Erik, why don't you make an appointment with the hairdresser? I'm always doing that for you. I think you're old enough to do it for you. You do it by yourself now. So I walked over to the place where the phone was, and I looked at it, and I decided I couldn't do it. So I went to the shed, and I got my bike, and I pedaled all the way to town. It took me an hour and a half to go back and forth, and an hour and a half I got back home, and I had my appointment. And my mom said, "Where have you been?" I said, "Well, I made an appointment with the hairdresser." "Well, why didn't you take the phone?" And I just kind of like excused myself. I came up with some kind of a justification why pedaling to town was a better option than making the phone call. You've probably seen that mechanism with yourself as well, trying to justify the things that you should be doing and are not doing. So I told her, no, well, it's better for my fitness and health to do a ride. So guess what? I graduated at some point and I started to work, and I became a commercial engineer, and I had to make phone calls. I had to prospect new customers. So basically I had to do cold calls. And my life started to go really south. I was stressed day in, day out. As a result, I felt very, very nervous, very uncomfortable all the time. I started drinking. I needed alcohol in the evening to go to sleep. But it didn't help me because, that still didn't fix my nerves. And I kind of like knew that the next day I had to be at work again doing the same thing. And every time I picked up that phone, I got that sensation of stress all over me. So it was totally ruining my life. I knew that if I could comfortably do phone calls, I could be very, very successful in life. I could talk to everybody. The whole planet, so to speak, could be my friend, and I could reach out to everybody. But there was this funny thing there that was holding me back. So years later, I tried to overcome it by putting myself into a call center. And I thought, okay, good. You know what? Let me see if I can actually improve myself and just put myself to the test. And I started working for the Red Cross, and for like 3 months non-stop, I only did cold calls. And it improved things a bit, but it was still there. It's as if, you know, you're like super afraid of heights, and you say, you know what, I'm gonna do bungee jumping, and you probably notice that after 20 times of jumping, your heart is still going like ga-ding, ga-ding, ga-ding. You're still, you know, you're still not very, very comfortable with heights. So in other words, there was something there that caused this to happen, that made this happen. Now, what was discovered by the author, L. Ron Hubbard, and what he wrote down in the original thesis, is that there's key incidents in your mind that are usually like behind a sign, kind of like a wall, so you don't see them, that have this this impact on you every time you try to move in that direction. And the book actually reveals how to get rid of it. So just to, there's a little side way to explain to you, you know, I really wanted to be successful in sales, but I had this big barrier that came up every time. I couldn't make calls. So that barrier was always there, and I could never really succeed in life. So then as a result, I only had failures. And of course, that makes you very unhappy. You cannot really love yourself when you fail and you fail again, and it seems there's no solution. Now, likewise, sometimes you do the bad stuff. Let's say you did something really wrong. You did something that you really regretted, and it seemed like there was some extra force to make that happen. And now you had to come clean with yourself again. So here there was something that violated your own integrity. If you look back at it, you say, well, I never meant to do this. I don't know why I could be so stupid to do that. I don't know what got me there. So there you have, again, failures. All right, so this is a bit of a heavy stuff here. I'm going to ask you a trick question, and I'm going to reveal the answer by showing what's in the book. So this is the trick question. What do you think is the purpose of the mind? You can put it in the chat. You might have to think about it a little bit. So what do you think it is that the mind ought to do? What do you think it is that the mind is doing for you? So what is the purpose of the mind? What is it that you think that the mind is doing? Kyle, to survive, thank you very much. Okay, so you can think this over. We have a few more minutes left. What do you think is the purpose of the mind? Omar, to react, thank you very much. Anybody else? Perhaps one of the smart ladies in the house. Chloe, the purpose of the mind is to process the information and take the right decisions. Wow, I think that's very beautiful, Chloe. Carmen, problem solving. Sandy, Liv. Okay, fantastic. All right, you guys are smart. Very good. So I guess you want to have the answer, yeah? You guys do want to have the answer that's in the book, okay? I'm going to put the book a bit closer to the camera, and I hope you can actually read it. see, Scott, can you see that on the screen? Good. All right, so there it says, the purpose of the mind is to solve problems relating to survival. The purpose of the mind is to solve problems relating to survival. The purpose of the mind is to solve problems relating to survival. All right, so you can instantly see that it seems that there's errors occurring. So why would you make mistakes if you're trying to solve ways for optimum survival? Maybe you want to have that better job. Maybe you want to have that better relationship. Maybe you want to have more understanding about yourself. Maybe you want to be good and just feels good in your skin. Maybe you want to be happy. So what is it that is, going against that? And you'll find that in the book. So the quote I just gave me, when I read it, it completely blew me away. And I kept reading. And I was like, okay, I got to try this. I got to see how this works. And so for me personally, that whole thing about phone calls is solved. Actually, as a matter of fact, I love to call people right now, even cold calls. So what I'm saying is that there's certain portions of your mind that you don't like about yourself. There's certain things that you do that you don't like about yourself. There's certain things that you can't do that you wish you could do. And because you can't do them, there's something there that you don't like about yourself. All right, so the book tells you exactly what that is and how to fix it. And the end result is that now you have regained the abilities to be who you want to be, to do what you want to do. That's a major step forward. Now, I got pretty much one of my final questions for you. So imagine that you have that mechanism. It controls your body, it controls your mind, it controls your emotions, it controls your purposes. It ruins your plans, right? You can't be who you want to be or do what you want to do. You probably have some examples for yourself right now. So how would it be if that situation continues for the rest of your life? How would it be if that continues the way it is for the rest of your life? Just pop that in the chat, give it a thought. So right now with let's say the state of self-love that you're in, your self-respect that you have for yourself, if you're looking at the obstacles that seem to be so big that they're going to prevent you from really achieving your goals, and there's something there that makes you do the wrong thing, even though you want to correct yourself, but maybe you feel like but I keep doing what I really deep down don't want to do. How would it be if that continues for the rest of your life? You can all answer if you want to. Kyle, okay, very bleak. Thank you so much. That seems to be a very honest question, honest answer. Anybody else? Okay, good. So I think it's a bit of a tough question, right, to look at. The good news is something can be done about this, folks. It's not a rocket science, fortunately. If you want to know about cars, you can study about cars, and you can actually learn how to fix engines. If you want to know about you, you can find out more about you. You can actually get the information about your own mind And actually, it is possible to know something about the mind and something about life. Um, with the technology that's offered to you here, it's for the first time ever that it's fully disclosed how the mind works and what method or therapy, if you will, can be applied to raise your confidence, to raise your IQ, to improve your abilities, and really move up towards using your full potential. So that's an international bestseller. The author, you will find him 3 times in the Guinness Book of Records. It's incredible data. I'll just give you only one datum. What is the purpose of the mind? So the book is 17 euros. Now, if you feel that you want to help somebody, you want to help improving somebody's life, the book will actually give you the tools to do so. Now, likewise, like I just said, maybe sometimes we do things that we later on regret. Maybe you're dealing with somebody, or you know somebody who appears to be really critical, nagging, things are never really right, always kind of wrong. And maybe it's even somebody very, very, very close to you. Might be a relative, might be an associate, might be a family member, might be a partner even. And like I tried to point out, we don't want to feel that way. We don't want to be grumpy. And a person who's grumpy with everybody else is also grumpy with himself. He doesn't want to be that way, but he never found any tool to do anything about it. So there's if you want to help somebody, or maybe you want to help yourself, to basically regain that level of honesty and integrity that we want to have so much. There's a booklet on that as well. It's called Honesty and Integrity, or Integrity and Honesty. It's very, very easy to understand. It's got, well, let me see. It's got pictures in it. And basically, it has a technology, very, very simple, to regain your own sense of honesty and integrity with yourself. Or if you will, help somebody else to regain that sense of honesty and integrity with himself or herself. In other words, you got two tools here which are really aimed to regain that self-respect and self-love. I'm going to give this one away as a gift tonight. So for anybody who's interested in knowing more about himself, herself, by studying you, which is your mind, what you're capable of, you can have both this for 17 euros, including shipping. The offer is valid for people in Europe. If you're in the United States, for example, I can only give you that for 17 euros or $17, but I cannot offer this, unfortunately. You can definitely go for that because it's already life-changing. So my colleague just put a link there in the chat. You can have a look. I usually after 1 hour, I notice that my throat gets kind of dry. So I'm just going to take a minute. I'm going to have some tea. I'm going to let you guys look at the link. It's valid for the next 30 minutes. So like I said, you can have 2 fantastic books, just 17 euros only. You're going to have a full explanation on the mind. You're going to find out exactly what it is that holds you back, that ruins your self-love, and how to fix that. All right, guys. Rebecca, I have to leave now. Thank you so much. Okay, good. So finally, it's 9 o'clock. Actually, it's past 9. Thank you very, very, very much for attending tonight. I hope you got something out of it. I'll be around for a couple of minutes for some questions if you have. My colleague is going to punch in my telephone number right now. Anybody who wants to reach out to me on the WhatsApp, or you can actually call me as well, send me a text message. But my number just appeared in the chat. Should you have any personal question, if you're dealing with something personal, you don't want to bring it up tonight, but you would like to share it, or if you would like to get some more information about it, feel free to correspond with me. Send me a text message. Send me a WhatsApp. I'll be happy to, like I said in the beginning of the evening, come up with some information that might help. Okay, guys. So, yeah, pretty much see that people are leaving, almost 10 past 9. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. On Friday, Devonta is back. He's from Alabama. He's going to talk about another subject. I'll be back next week, Tuesday. Have a great week. Have a great rest of your week, I should say. And hopefully see you next time. Bye.